Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. It's that time again where we have our Heat Press for Profit podcast. Now, thank you for taking time out of your day to listen and join in on our conversations. If you're watching with us live on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, make sure you shout out who you are, where you're tuning in from, and of course, you guys know that I love to know your business name. Now, this podcast is designed to have conversations with apparel decorators just like you and industry experts that can have an impact on your business. Today's conversation is about last minute opportunities and how quick turn times can really win business for you. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the show where we launch a new episode every week. Now, our guest today, I'm really excited for this conversation because it's all about a niche and really setting that expectation that you can do quick turn time fulfillment. And Gina Maybee is the owner of Scott Designs, and she has been heat printing since COVID. So we've got some questions and conversation based on that as well. But Gina, thanks so much for taking time out of your day. This is not something you do full time, so I'm sure your busy schedule is always packed.
Thank you for having me.
Now, so we all know a little bit about you, your business, and what you do. Just give us a quick rundown of, who you decorate for, how you got started, and really just how you kind of came about into this world.
So, obviously when COVID, things slowed down. I was still able to work my main job. So, that wasn't the push, but I also love to create, and I'm a graphic designer at heart. So this was a way for me to also get my designs out there. I thought, that was, the original thought process. And so went out and we bought, the cutter, and then, followed it up with the heat press, and been creating and trying new things ever since.
Now, with kind of merging the two, where did you go? Yeah, you're a graphic artist, right? So you already have that skill. But, sometimes people have a vision of, I want to create my own line of tees, or, they get a silhouette or Cricut, and next thing you know that they are fulfilling t-shirts for a local school. Because you already have your you're a graphic artist by trade. How did you get into the t-shirt industry? Just really understanding like, hey, there's an opportunity here.
I think it just, I came a little bit later than that whole Cricut silhouette boom. And I'm like, I could do that. And I just wanted to I am probably one of those people that, start 100 different projects. And once
Same.
I get it done, I'm like, okay, let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
But this one has stuck. So, but it was the challenge of being able to take the design, and especially with vinyl, you have to read and you have to piece and layer and everything. So just taking my design from that to concepting it into the actual t-shirt.
So you spend a lot of time weeding at the front part of this world that you've entered in. And I know that when we were talking just a little bit earlier that, it's definitely adjusted and changed as new transfers and technology have come about. But so everybody understands Gina's business is based on waiting for confirmation on the equestrian. And I'll let you talk on this a little bit more since, that's not my strong suit to be able to talk on that industry. But she's basically waiting on confirmation of a lineup. And once she gets that, she runs and creates what she needs to. She's waiting on a quick turn time of 2-3 days in hands on that third day, if not sooner. So at that point, you have to really be on your game, because this isn't something where you can press and then go, we can get this to you oops, it's not going to make your timeline, right? This is a very, very hard date. So tell us a little bit about, before we get to ordering transfers, like what your expectation is. In this particular case, you're not necessarily offering, I have the ability to do a 24-hour, 48-hour turn time. You're printing because you found a need in this industry to be able to fulfill garments that, somebody else couldn't. So then that's how you've, kind of developed your plan. So give us a little bit of, how the whole process looks for you.
I mean, I guess I fell into it because, in my niche, we are very much community industry, family oriented. Many of my horsemen are like third generation. So, in that, you stick with your own, basically, for lack of better terms off the top of my head. You use people, So, with the horse racing, you draw a race, you have 24 hours, and then you find out who is finally where they're supposed to be in that race. And that is usually 2 to 3 to 4 days out. And at the racetrack, you like to create promotions around races or horses or, various giveaways or whatnot. So the basic design I always have done, a week before or whatever.
Sure.
But then I put the final touches on the design, the minute it comes out, I'm plugging in horse names, post positions, drivers, whatever it may be. And then from there, I make sure I make that 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock deadline at Stahls that day and then order it. I'm lucky I'm in a quick ground shipping location. And a lot of times I've had to get it delivered actually to the racetrack. Sure. And I'm bringing my heat press to the racetrack and doing it within hours of the giveaway, the promotion, the race.
Yeah. So that's, for those of you guys that are tuning in, listening, her situation is a little different. It's not one of those where somebody's going, hey, Gina, I've got, my daughter's birthday party. And maybe you might have those conversations outside, but the bread and butter of what you're doing is really based on these races. So in this particular case, it's not there's a $50 rush fee or there is a $30 rush fee that she is, pushing on to her customers or the racers, because this is the business that she has developed specifically for the industry that she is in. So when she's talking about community, it really is utilizing those around you, and they've instilled this trust on her that this is what's going to get done. So instead of extending the cost, I'm assuming there's this kind of understanding, like, you know what? We're going to get this done as quick as possible. I might be printing on site, but at the end of the day, the merch is going to be there.
Yes. Another thing I also do is like memorial blankets or named race blankets. So usually you have a week turnaround on that. And for that product, I use the soft flock.
Yes.
And because it looks really nice on a fleece blanket too. So, the quick shipping there is also great because I can order it, I can cut it within a short amount of time as well. And I like doing those because I can actually, if you order them stock wise from, a blanket place, you're getting the name, the date, and that's just about it. When I do them, there is a graphic of some sort or an icon or, a silhouette of something that is personalized to that person, because we are a community and we do know each other and we support each other.
But that's like when, you started this business around COVID time, right? Like that's when you said, you know what, this is where I'm going to invest in myself. And I see that my community has a need for it. What did people do prior to you fulfilling that? Were they ordering their own?
Yes. The racetrack, there was a major company that they used
Okay.
Up in, but they weren't getting the turnaround either.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And another thing with the economy the way it is in in a lot of businesses also is, you're cutting staff. That's the downfall of a lot of things these days is racetracks. Businesses all over are cutting staff. So things are coming up more last minute, I think, because you have so few people doing so much work as well. So, that is also, the quick turnaround time for any business or, apparel decoration business.
Yeah.
Could use that to their advantage as well.
So when you first started, you bought a cutter and you were cutting and utilizing, those transfers that you need. Do you still do a lot of cutting? Besides
I feel like I do. I feel like I do, and I hate weeding, so I feel like it is.
It's still utilized a lot, yeah.
Yes, but I mean, for most of my fabric or clothing apparel,
yep,
I have switched over as much as possible to Ultra Color Max transfers,
and which is great because with that, next day shipping, that's able to stay within your timeline, and with you being closer to those production facilities, the shipping time on that as well, you're able to at least, meet in hands. Now, you guys, one thing we were talking about is sometimes when people have quick runs, right? It could be like, I have a birthday party, I need 5 shirts, or I need this product. I need competition game day shirts, and maybe there's 12 to 15. She's really, really specialized in the idea that she's doing one-offs. So with vinyl, she's able to do a one-off. With Ultra Color Max, she's able to do a one-off and not incur extra costs on her end. So I think it's really important that if you are looking at quick turn times, you have to understand the products that are obtainable for you. Because if you're ordering, say, screen printed transfers and there is a minimum of 6, that's a minimum of 6, right? So instead of passing on those costs to your customers, she can keep her costs down by cutting what she needs or ordering the Ultra Color Max. Now, Gina, are you doing full color with Ultra Color Max, or is it, hey, I need detail, I'm not weeding that, I'm ordering it in Ultra Color Max because I know I can get it super quick?
I've done both. The t-shirts I've done for the track have been basically just 1 or 2 colors, either a black one and independent, or a black one, or a white one or a black one. But I've recently ordered, it was 3 color, but a logo with a horse and colors and words, and that was multiple, it was a good size. It was like 20 inches or something. So, and for me, since you guys have switched to the no minimum, that's been a game changer for me as well, because I can try, if I've created a cute little design, in my spare time, I can order one and see how that looks versus ordering. I think when it first came out, I ordered 1 design and I never made a hard push to sell the design. So, and I think I have 4 of them in my,
You're sitting
because I had to meet that 25 minimum. So I had like an extra 5 of them. So the no minimum is huge for me now too.
Well, I mean, it's huge for multiple reasons, right? So we actually have a question. So the question is, you use Ultra Color Max for big events. How long do they last? If I don't use them all this year, can I use them next year's event? How long you've had the ones that are just sitting?
When you guys just started doing the Ultra Color Max.
So like you're still utilizing them.
Yeah.
When you are you pressing on site as well for those designs outside of like trying to get people to buy merch, outside of, personal decoration?
Yeah, it's funny because we're going to have an event at the racetrack here. And one of the it's a fall festival, so we were looking at vendors and craft showy kind of stuff, and I'm like, I actually told my husband the other night, I said, I think I'm going to set up a booth, but you've got to work it. I said, I've got to do my horse racing stuff, so you've got to do this. He's like, and he laughed at me. He said, okay. And I'm like, so I'm still debating. This would be my first craft show kind of situation.
Yeah.
So it's not something I have explored in depth, but it's always there in the front of my mind that this would be neat to do.
Is having that merch there, because
Yeah.
it's, I mean, that's a whole topic, you know, and we've had some conversations on that from, you know, event printing and some other guests that we've had on our podcast. But I think the big thing to understand is what you're doing is different than setting up shop and offering custom merchandise that way, or, you know, I want this design with that shirt, or even just event merch. What you're doing is very, very customized and getting people what they need for a specific event at a very low minimum of one piece.
It's like having, you know, it's almost like having the racetrack having an in-house apparel.
Decorator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's just you're doing it through your own business.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is a really important conversation because we touched on it a little bit, right? Jeff is asking, how much extra should you charge for last minute jobs? And I think it's really, really important for people to understand what you have created versus somebody coming and saying, I have a last minute job I need help with, because you saw the niche, you saw the gap. For you to go in and say, I can do this at X speed. These are the products that I use. This is the type of quality I'm going to produce. And then you've built that connection to know you're going to get those orders. So for somebody looking to increase costs or have a fee, I definitely think in the world of quick turn time, or I have rush printing, you've got to have that rush fee on it if that is not the basis of your business. Otherwise, you set that expectation for your customer to really just kind of come in and go, oh, I need this in 24 or 48 hours. And that's not your business model. For you, that is your business model. And those that you do business with, they know the costs that they're going to get. And, you know, I think, how did you set that expectation at the beginning? Or was it just all here? It was just in your brain. You knew it was needed.
I knew it was, you know, it was a, you know, when I first bought this at COVID, it was never going to be necessarily a business. And so as I got more and more involved, you know, the director of operations at the racetrack, I'd show her what I did and I'd be like, oh, look at what I did. And she took it and just says, well, can you do this? And I'm like, oh, absolutely. You know, I don't think I've ever told her no. She may have had to wait a longer period, you know, with her ideas, because I'm trying to figure out the best solution for her. So, you know, it's just kind of, her expectations are, I'm going to give Gina whatever, throw Gina idea at Gina, and she's just going to get it one way or another. She'll get it accomplished. So, yeah. I mean, my situation's so much different than most probably would be in that, because I have so much flexibility.
Yeah. But you've built that relationship and trust. And I think even if you weren't as deep as involved, right, as what you are on the other scope of your world, there's still something to be said about having that relationship or showing somebody, hey, look what I had fun creating. And then that sparks their ideas to go, well, what if we did this? Did you start with apparel only and then get into the blankets, or like what was the first product that you were decorating on?
Well, decals were first. And then it was t-shirts.
Okay.
And then the memorial blankets, because it is such a huge undertaking. You know, the blanket designs are 4 to 5 feet in width, and, you know, about 2 feet tall. You know, you've got an entire side of a horse basically that you are decorating on.
You're playing puzzle pieces. We talked about this a little bit earlier, guys. She's not doing a one hit on a transfer. She's taking multiple pieces, putting them together, putting a puzzle together on a heat press in order to apply way more than 22 by 22, which is what you can print on an Ultracolor Max. So creative and innovative and building trust is huge for you.
Yeah. Anybody who ever has to do that, I find, here's my little nugget of, is get a thin piece of plywood. And you can move the plywood a lot easier through your press than you could necessarily the apparel itself. It slides. It doesn't, not a tugging situation.
I love little tips and tricks. What all have you decorated on? We've talked about apparel and we've talked about the blankets, but what all have you created?
I've done, it was more of a nylon-y, fabric-y kind of tire cover, or wheel cover for an RV. Yep. I've done coasters and leather bottle opener things.
Oh, okay.
And pad folios. I'm sure I've tried more because I'm always, let's see if it'll melt.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, is it gonna melt? Or can we get it to stick? Especially if it's a hard good. Now, obviously, if it's apparel, it's a little different. It's gonna be able to withstand washing. But at the end of the day, it's, what can, now is that Ultracolor Max that you're using on all of those
yes,
products?
That was it. And those were all one color too, because the quick turnaround for that, because those were the coasters, the opener, and the pad folio were an award basically, a last minute award that I threw in for our awards banquet. So
see, last minute, that's like the name of your game.
Yeah.
Is Gina, can you get it? Can you make it happen? What what have you experienced getting into the quick turn times, right? You're not setting up cushion for yourself, or if you do have cushion, it's very, very, very minimal. What feedback do you have for people that are looking at maybe going and offering, the service? Because what you're doing is providing a service, not just a rush situation.
For me, the key for me definitely is the support of my husband. Because we have kids and I need that to disappear, not be with 4 of them. I need them to not be in my face. Lack of caffeine is a definite there, because also a lot of times, I'll get something, I work my regular job, and then I'm, go home, deal with the kids, and then I'm starting at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And thank God my body is all messed up anyway, and thinks that a normal nighttime schedule needs to be divided into 2 anyway. So I sleep for 3 hours, work a full 8 hours, 9 hours, then I take a nap, and then I work another 6 or so, or whatever the math is. My body has divided its normal sleep pattern up for some reason. So, a lot of times with these last minutes, I'm starting at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And at 3 a.m., I am still usually
going.
And then I sleep for a little bit and wake up with the kids and start my day all over. So
how did you originally start when you needed these quick turn times? What did you learn early on in the beginning that was like, this is not going to work, I have to adjust this situation?
I always order the apparel ahead of time, because they're not usually as easy and as flexible as Stahls is, with shipping and everything. So I always order the t-shirts or whatnot ahead of time. And those are usually sitting there waiting for me to do something. And then with you guys, I never fear. I really don't fear that I am going to get the product when I need it. So, but the apparel is always is really the question mark for me a lot of times.
Is if you're going to get it on time and in hands. Yeah. Cause you can have one or the other, but if you don't have them both, then you can't really heat press a transfer onto the body, for one. And two, if you are working around colors and specific product for people, it's not like you can just pull a white t-shirt or a gray t-shirt, I'm assuming, out of a stash that you might have. We did have a question that I can answer, which is, how does Ultracolor Max hold up as compared to screen print transfer on clothing? So both of these products are wash tested with 50 washes and dries. And what that means is once we've reached that 50 wash max, we stop testing that. So there is nothing to be said that either one of those wouldn't make it to 65, 100. A lot of that in terms of durability can actually fall back on the application instructions and the press that you're using, as well as however the clothing owner is washing. So stay away from fabric softeners. We do test the drying aspect. So if we say you can dry it, you can dry it. But I would probably just say stay away from high heat. But at the end of the day, they both match that 50 washes and dries. So then it comes down to, do you have extra time? If you have extra time, can you order that screen printed transfer to save you a little bit of money if it's a one color? But then you also get into the quantity factor. So there's definitely a little bit of an equation or following the line of which transfer makes the most sense. But for Gina, she's using Ultracolor Max, whether it's a one color design or a multicolor, because she knows that turn time is going to make it to her. Gina, as we wrap up, any last minute thoughts about really kind of just getting into a specific niche and seeing, you saw the need, you saw the market, and you went for it. Do you have any recommendations for somebody that's kind of sitting on the fence and maybe feels like they know that somebody has a need, but they haven't jumped?
I mean, all of us are, in something that is it community or, industry related. Think outside the box and volunteer. Not volunteer per se, but throw it out there. Give them the opportunity to say yes or no to you. That's the only way. You're going to have to get yourself out there. Nobody else is going to really do it for you.
Yep. I love that. You've got to be your own advocator, and especially in a business or something you're seeing potential, and you got to go out there for yourself.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Gina. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to those that had asked some questions. You guys feel free to connect with her on the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group. She is part of that community. And Gina, is there any other way people can kind of reach out and touch base with you, or do you prefer them to ask questions in that platform?
I mean, that's probably the best way. But I am all over Facebook for the most part. So
there you go. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. And Gina, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your time.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, guys.